Welcome to San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs program featuring conversations about life in the central San Joaquin Valley. This program is brought to you in partnership between KFSR 90.7 FM and CMAC Fresno. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Today we have Mike Shirinian in the studio. Mike is the owner of the Elbow Room in Fresno. Welcome to the program.
Sevag, thanks for having me tonight.
You have a staple. I mean, your restaurant is not just a restaurant. It's not just a grill or bar. It's actually a staple. I mean, ever since I was younger, I would go there. And I'm saying that on the record because sometimes I would go just to hang out there. So how did this whole idea of the Elbow Room come about?
Well, the Elbow Room started long before I was involved. It's been in the community since 1955. And there have been 4 owners. I'm the 4th owner. And it's always been a community meeting place. Now we're on a much larger scale than when it started in 1955 at Palm and McKinley, and then it moved to Shaw and Palm, and then I bought it there in 1994 and moved it to Fig Garden. But you know, we've been really fortunate and blessed to have a clientele of multiple generations from, you know, you'll see them from kids and infants to 90 plus years old, and I think that mix is really special. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, part of it I think is the history of the restaurant itself. You know, a lot of it is, you know, our attitude about wanting to be a community meeting spot. If you just want to drop in for a hamburger, or you may want a beautiful steak, but you can come in casual, dressed up, whatever.
You know, one of the things I noticed is everybody asks Elbow Room, what does that mean? So in your opinion, what does the Elbow Room mean?
Well, the original Elbow Room was so small that it was literally elbow to elbow. The grill was behind the bar where they would cook, and this was before my time, but if you were sitting at the bar, you could darn near reach behind you and touch the few booths that were there. So it was packed in, and I think it just implies the fact that it's a fun place because it's elbow to elbow, and I think that connotes that type of ambiance.
You know, one of my first times at Elbow Room, and you know, I didn't want you just here to talk about Elbow Room because I want you to also talk about the restaurant business because it's a grueling, hard business. But let's start talking about just the Elbow Room as we're doing. One of the first times I walked in, I saw Jerry Tarkanian, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, is that Tark the Shark sitting there enjoying a steak or whatever he was eating? You've had clientele that are popular. Talk about that.
Oh, we enjoy an incredible clientele on a regular basis. I mean, not only when Jerry was in town and when he first arrived, he was literally in the Elbow Room 7 nights a week. He was phenomenal with the community. So he would be out and greet people, talk to them. I mean, the number of famous people. I mean, when Governor Schwarzenegger was in office, he was in the restaurant every time he came to Fresno. All of Donald Trump's entourage, when they were looking at the running horse, project, they were in, and we did a lot of catering for them as well as in-house. And gosh, I mean, there's been a lot of movie stars that come through. Kevin Bacon was in. There's a long list of people. So somehow they find us.
See, and that's my question. How? I mean, because when I was growing up, I didn't see your commercials. I didn't see you on radio, but I heard, hey, let's go to Elbow Room. And sometimes it was just, let's go to Elbow Room to hang out. And I said, well, you know, it's a restaurant. The person wants to make money. Don't worry about it. Let's just go to the Elbow Room.
Well, I think you always go where you're recognized. And that I grew up in this business in San Francisco. And that's how I was raised. And when I came to Fresno, I worked for the Sagatelian family that owned the old Fresno and then the Silver Dollar. When the Silver Dollar, when they owned it, it was spectacular. And it was very reminiscent of our places in downtown San Francisco from the standpoint that you knew everybody. And I mean, my dad's 2 places in Union Square, I mean, you'd walk in and you'd see the cops on the beat when they were off duty. Our priest, Father Sullivan, used to come in there, and you would see stage hands, because you had all the stage shows from New York that came into San Francisco playing at the Geary or the Current Theaters, and that's right where we were. And then the stars, after the show, would come down and they'd play on the piano bar and sing.
Oh.
But the common denominator was like my dad, or in the case of the Sagatelians, stuff like they knew everybody's name. Mm-hmm. And it's so powerful because I don't care whether you're in politics, whatever you're in, the relationships that you have with people and the appreciation that you show, you know, that's what it's all about. And we operate, and I was trained this way, we have a very specific philosophy that we want you to feel like we've invited you into our house, just like you would at your home. And we also, and we talk about this with every staff member, it doesn't matter if it's somebody on the dishwashing crew, the pantry, the cooking line, or bartenders, waitresses, and managers up front, is the customer is the purpose of your work, not an interruption of your work. And if you have people philosophically that feel that way, and we always say, go out and do one thing today that makes a new customer. It could be a little courtesy. It could be an elderly person that you help them into their seat. Or if somebody wants to know where the restroom is, you don't just point and say it's over there. Here, let me walk you over. And it's that kind of attitude and spirit that we want in our family of staff, because we want you to feel like our family.
When you see people like Tarkanian, Governor Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
movie stars, I mean political officials, elected officials, in your establishment, what are you thinking at that point? I mean, what's Mike Shirinian thinking when he sees Governor Schwarzenegger eating a steak?
And smoking a cigar. you know, that's really cool. But I have to tell you, I mean, that's very appreciated because it lends a little cachet to it. But I have to tell you something. The real heart of the business are the students that come in, the professional people, the moms that come in with their husbands and kids. That's really the backbone of the elbow room. The rest is kind of, creates a little cha-cha and a little glitz.
Added bonus.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting because you're always going to see somebody there. That's what makes it kind of fun.
There's been a lot of renovations since I last went to Elbow Room.
Yeah.
First, let's talk about this wine room that's happening.
It was about 7 or 8 years ago we actually built that, and it's kind of the lesser known side of the restaurant. And originally we had operated as a second restaurant, even though it's connected to the Elbow Room, and it's a wine country themed restaurant, and we called it the Chef's Table. And when the economy became difficult, we just folded it in and made it all Elbow Room, but it is a wine cellar dining room. We have an award-winning wine list, and all the wine bottles are visible behind glass. So if you're in there dining, you see all the wines. That's kind of neat. And then we have what we call our vineyard patio with a bocce court, and we've got wine barrels racked. And it, Conrad Jimenez was our designer on it. He did just an incredible job. And he and I went to Paso Robles and Napa because we wanted to take you visually as though you went to the wine country. And we have a wonderful wine country here now. So that was the intent.
Talk about the menu. I mean, restaurants, it's a tough business.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a lot of people who come visit you at Elbow Room,
Yeah.
and you've been successful, but the honesty is it's a tough business. How do you pick your menu? I mean, how do you know what item stays and what item maybe doesn't make the cut?
That's a really good question, and I'm going to tell you something. I made this comment to my wife the other day. I've owned the restaurant 20 years, and I go, gosh, it took me 20 years, I think, to finally get it right. And I mean that from the standpoint that I think our pricing is really good, our product quality is absolutely top-notch, and the people preparing it are really skilled. So the product we have today is representative of that attitude that it needs to be fairly priced so that you can come back all the time. And we start with the best product. And I always tease the kitchen. I said, if you screw it up, don't blame me. But to your point, when I bought the restaurant in 1994, I kind of went back to the fundamentals of what I think a good bar and grill is and what the customer will respond to. And I think that's really honest food where there's a number of basic categories on the menu and prices where you say, gosh, I can come back on a regular basis. And it's not that it's inexpensive, but it's fairly priced, but the quality we want to over-deliver, whether it's a great burger or whether you had a lobster, which obviously is more money. But the majority of our items at dinner are $16 to $22, you know, and you get plenty of food and what have you. So I think the essence is for a really great bar and grill, you need to have a fabulous hamburger. You've got to have great steaks, fresh seafood. I mean, our seafood, we buy it fresh 6 days a week. It comes in, we fillet it, portion it. When it's gone each day, it's gone. And you have the, you know, the assurance of knowing that, wow, you're getting explosively fresh product, well prepared. We buy as much organic, local product as we can so that again, it's explosively fresh and you can taste the difference. We even have our own herb garden where at that chef's table side. So we use fresh herbs in our food.
Talk about the pricing. You mentioned it a little bit, but how do you know? I mean, it's a balance because if you overprice, people aren't going to come back.
Yeah, right.
And if you underprice, people are going to say, oh, that's a cheap place. I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
How do you find that balance of, okay, this steak and the mashed potatoes cost this amount of money?
Well, that's really a good question. And every good restaurant, and there's many good ones in Fresno, you know, you're going to, determine what you think conceptually the menu should be to make a statement to your customer. In other words, there's an identity. So when somebody sees the menu, it resonates with them, oh, this is a bar and grill, this is a sushi restaurant, whatever. Then in terms of the product pricing, you need to have a mix of items. And, you know, there's a little bit of guesstimation. There's a little bit, hey, I'm going to go take a look at a menu in San Francisco that's successful. Are there some things that we should parallel? And are there traditional items that we've always had that we need to keep? And then we build from there. So it's a combination of analyzing the plate cost, what does it cost? And then what is a fair price to sell it to the guest? And there's a lot of practical side of it. Aside from analyzing every single dish, which we do, we want to first make sure that we've got the right products represented in the right categories. You know, whether it's, we want everything to be really healthy. We want to make sure that we appeal to, from everything from children to women, guys, what have you, so we have enough variety. And then our specials program every day are things that are just phenomenal items that are in season right now. And that could be seafood, it could be produce. You know, heirloom tomatoes up until 2 weeks ago were just gorgeous. And Dustin Padigan out of Parlier, we were buying some great product from him. He'd bring tomatoes fresh every day to us. So you've got to take a look at what is your menu, what does that mean to the guest, and then I think you need to make sure that you survey your competitors to make sure you're viewed properly. For us, you know, you've got Applebee's and price points like this. We're a step up from there. We're certainly not as high as a Fleming's or Ruth Chris. So we know what our competition is like, and we want to price ourselves maybe a little bit upper middle, you know.
Do you want people to come in? I mean, there are some restaurants out there and some businesses where as soon as someone walks in, the owner or the manager want to say, okay, he's in, let's get him, make sure he gets the steak or she, let's make sure they get the wine, let's make sure they get, you know, this, let's make sure to add the bill. Are you okay with students, let's say, coming in and getting maybe a soda and some fries? Or
Sure. Here's the theory that I work on. I work on the theory of, one, I want every young family to be able to afford it. If students come in and split a burger, I don't care. I just want the place full because those young people are your next generation of customer. So let's not be too good for anybody. You know, that I don't abide by. The other thing is, you know, talking about building the ticket, well, I think it is our obligation at least to offer the products. So, you know, a nice wine, an appetizer, that's called building the ticket, but it's all in the context of if that's what you want. So we need to be good question and answer people. We need to make sure that we really identify what you would like to have, and then we need to be informative about how it's prepared, the source of the product, and what have you. But I just want the place full. Give me a bunch of $10 customers, I'm good.
And, you know, the place has always been full every time I've gone there, so congratulations on that. Do you think there's a segment of the population that maybe because of your location, you're in a prime location, maybe, you know, the rents are a little higher where you're at. Do you think there's a segment of the population that think, you know, elbow room, that's way too expensive for me?
Well, you know, they certainly could get that impression. And I think, you know, we are working hard and consciously, especially with the new menu that we just put in, we had a specific conversation amongst our management and culinary team. And the conversation really centered around, look, this menu has to really look fairly priced, and it needs to be fairly priced. How can we create great new dishes that allow us to sell things at a lesser price? And it's been really interesting because the response from the customers has been, God, the prices, the food, I mean, it's the right mix. And I think sometimes, you know, you can, and I think we were a victim of this a little bit, you know, some of certain items were priced, you know, they were high priced items and they were what they were. I mean, lobster's just expensive. So that's something that will feature as a special, but it's not printed on the menu so that you don't get the impression that this is, God, this is an expensive place. The other flip side on that is, you know what? If we're going to put lobster or king crab legs out there, I'm buying only the best, because there are places that will buy substandard product because they want to be able to advertise it at a low price. And the disappointment for the customer comes when they eat that. You know, if you spent $20 and you didn't like it because it was poor quality, but if $25 got you really good quality, well, then the $5 doesn't make a difference. I'd rather not spend the 20 at all if it's not good.
Good point. Good point.
You know, it could be a $2 sandwich. You go, wow, $2. But if it's lousy, charge me 5, charge me 10, whatever. So value is a very different issue than what the actual technical cost is. Did, you know, in our case, did we give you a dining experience, and did we give you service, and did we do the details where you walked away not even, you know, maybe we were $1 higher, $1 lower, whatever, and you just walked away saying, gosh, the food was great and I had a great time. If we can do that, then that transcends price, because you can never be cheap enough, I don't think.
Are you, as owner, always looking for product? Or, you know, sometimes we watch these shows on TV, and, you know, over the past 10 years, I'll tell you, cooking and eating has been so the center of attention.
Absolutely.
But are you always looking, you know, when you're out there and you're about at a restaurant, let's say, or you're out of town, and you see something, you like it, is there a chance of bringing that to your restaurant?
Oh, there's absolutely, positively. On our culinary team, you know, Heidi Spurka and Roy Harlan, you know, are two of our key people on the staff, and Enrique Solario. We have a meeting every Tuesday, tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, and they're always presenting new dishes. And the customer is more aware now than ever, because of the internet, via your phone, television, what have you, of what really good food is. So it's really incumbent upon the restaurants to be seeking out new, different, innovative, quality products presented in a unique manner that tastes great. So yeah, every week we have a food show.
You know, I want to ask you a question I've been dying to ask every restaurant owner. You know, when I go to a restaurant, 9 times out of 10, I'm getting water. And so a lot of places, there's no charge for water.
Right.
Does that bother you as a restaurant owner? Or, you know, underneath your breath, do you say,
No.
This guy got water again?
No, you know what? There's times I go out, I just drink water. No. Our whole focus in the Elbow Room, you know, we have such a broad range of things. You know, we have background music now 5 nights a week during the dinner hour out on the patio. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why to go there. Our one central focus from now and for the future is we just want to be known as having great food, great ambiance, great attitude, where somebody says, I want to come back next week. So it is all about the food. So drinking water, Sevag, you come in all you want, drink all the water you want. That is not an issue.
Talk about 20 years ago when you bought the Elbow Room, where it is today. Is that your vision? I mean, did you realize how popular your restaurant's going to be?
I'd be lying to you if I said yes, because when I bought it, you know, I bought it from some really nice people who owned it successfully for many years, but then they had other interests, and those other interests took them away from the focus of the restaurant. So they didn't do anything wrong. It was just time for them to transition to a different career path. And so when I bought the restaurant, I felt there was a lot of opportunity. And so we went back to the basics. Could I have predicted that it would be, I mean, our sales are 18-fold greater than they were 20 years ago.
Congratulations on that.
Right, but if you would have said to me then it's going to be X, I would have kind of rolled my eyes and said, well, I don't know about that one. Now, granted, the overhead's higher and there's more competition, and there's a lot of factors there, but we've been very fortunate. And really the reason in my mind that we've had this kind of success, the only thing I could predict was that we have great people and we have a great chance for success. And of the 70 of us that work together, there's about 15 of us that have been together for 20 years. And there's about another 10 out of the 70 that have been there at least 6 or 7 years or more. So that's the foundation of the restaurant, is that all of us that work together, the people I work with.
For the person who wants to open a restaurant out there, I mean, there's a lot of individuals out there who want to open a restaurant, make it nice. What advice would you give them? Because, it's not all, wonderful. It's not all great. It's not all successful. When you open the doors, it's not like everyone's going to come rushing in and eating your meal.
That could be about a 40-hour conversation, but really, I mean, there's a lot to it. But I would say this. I'm going to tell you what it can't be. It can't be because my mom had a great recipe, therefore it's going to translate to a great restaurant. Although having some home cooking and that element can certainly contribute to the success of it. But working in the business at every level and then having formal training within the business so that you are understanding the financial side of it, the operational side of it, and then you better understand location and real estate acquisition. And I mean, there's a great many things that go into it. And I would never discourage somebody from doing it, but my recommendation, the short answer would be, go work at absolutely the finest restaurant that you can go work at. That could mean many different things. Doesn't mean the most expensive, but you really need to learn how somebody that's successful does it. I worked for my dad briefly in San Francisco, who was successful, and I worked for the Tateosian brothers. And the things that they taught me almost 40 years ago, because they taught me how they thought and procedurally what to do, I use to this day. Believe it or not, that's pretty powerful.
That's incredible.
It's more than incredible, because we've got sophisticated software and all of these things, which are important for tracking your margins and what have you. You need to be really clear, and I don't care whether it's in the political arena or whether it's any retail business. You need to be very clear as to who your customer is, why you're doing what you're doing, and how you are going, what are your points of distinction, so that that guest goes, this was from the minute I hit the front door all the way through the dining experience to being bid farewell. That has to be as seamless as it can be, and there's a lot of moving parts there.
What's next? I mean, you've expanded the restaurant. You're getting great crowd in there, and it's diverse. I mean,
Yeah,
you've got
that's the beauty.
Friday night and Saturday night, you've got college group, plus you've got working individuals working hard, and then they come and they have a meal. What's next? I mean, is there anything you would like to see that you haven't done yet?
Well, our business is expanding pretty dramatically. We're doing more and more banquet and special event business, like you're familiar with there. We have an off-premise catering company where people don't realize that we do big events. We just did Kaiser for 2,500 people.
The Elbow Room? Is that the Elbow Room?
Elbow Room Catering. My business partner is Liz Noble. She and I have worked at the Elbow Room for 18 years. Randy McBride is my managing general partner in the Elbow Room itself. So I have a young partner. He's really dynamic. And he's also a partner in the catering company. I want to keep everybody involved. So we go off-premise. We did Boys and Girls Club the other night for 475 people. We catered the Luau of Love for the Angels of Grace Foundation right down the street at Artes de America.
Yeah.
Saturday night, that was for 480 people. So yeah, we're expanding there. We've also been asked to go to Bakersfield to do an Elbow Room, and we have some other projects that we're considering. But the real focus is ensuring that the Elbow Room itself, we are not good enough, and the owner, me, is not good enough. So, no, I mean that. So our track is, let's stay focused on our core business, and then we'll carefully consider something else. But right now, stay focused.
There are companies and there are restaurants that they grow and quality goes down. The bigger they get, quality goes lower and lower and lower and lower. And we see that happen all the time.
Yeah.
How do we know that Mike Shirinian and his team will keep quality up and expand or whatever the business practice occurs?
Well, that's a great question, and every single thing that I have always done because of the way I was trained, you know, I'm a customer like you. My name is the Elbow Room, okay? I'm out in the community. If we go off premise to do a catering event, that food better be viewed as I got restaurant caliber food, not banquet food or what you might associate with catered events. And certainly there are very good caterers in town, so I don't want to imply we're the only one. But, you know, honestly, it always starts with quality. Our advertising starts with the quality of our people and the quality of our product. That's our foundation. That will not change because my name is on it. Won't change, you know.
How can people find out more information about the Elbow Room? You've got some upgrades and renovations. You've got new menu. How can they look at that stuff?
Well, you know what? Just call me at 227-1234. Anybody can call me because I love to talk about the restaurant. I will show you the restaurant. Our website is elbowroomfresno.com, and we have a great marketing team that keeps that updated on what's going on, new dishes. We do cooking classes at the Elbow Room. We do kids cooking classes. We have schools come over. I mean, there's a myriad of things that are going on maybe that people don't realize. But yeah, call me personally. I'll give you the tour.
Lastly, I can't let you off the hook without asking this very difficult question.
Okay.
Your favorite meal at Elbow Room, what is it?
That's a toughie, but I'm going to go to something I know you like. June Donnie and her late husband Robert, 20 years ago, and they were farmers, insisted that I have portobello mushrooms. And that is our biggest selling item. And I love it because you can put them over a steak. You can make a sandwich out of it. We make, once in a while, we'll make raviolis with the portobellos in them. And that would be the winning ones. And every time I see June, I say, June, when somebody asks me what's our best item, not only do I tell them that it was the portobellos, I tell them that you were the one that was smart enough to talk me into it.
Mike Shirinian, thank you so much for coming on the program, telling us about the Elbow Room.
Thanks, Sevag.
That's all for this edition of San Joaquin Spotlight. Our guest this week has been Mike Shirinian, the owner of the Elbow Room in Fresno. Thank you to the volunteer crew that made this and every production possible. We couldn't do this program without you. Thank you to the audience members who are listening to 90.7 FM KFSR Fresno or watching us on CMAC, AT&T 99, Comcast 93. Tune in next week for a new edition.